All right, guys, this is going to be our last video about solving equations. And in this video, we're going to learn how to solve, they're called literal equations. I like to think of them, though, as like formulas. And so we're going to learn how to solve equations that have multiple variables in them. Now, when you have an equation that has multiple different variables in it, so notice it's not like I have multiple letter x's, I have a c and an f, then part of the directions that I have to tell you which variable I want you to solve for, which variable you're trying to get by itself. So in this example, it says, what is f in terms of c? That means that I want to solve for f. And my answer is going to have a letter C in it. I'd also like to point out that this equation currently is already solved for C. So I'm not going to solve for C. This is solved for C. It says C equals something. And so my goal on this problem now is to make it, instead of saying C equals something, I want it to say F equals something. Sometimes what I like to do with these types of problems where there's multiple different letters, I like to take out a second color and I like to write the letter that I'm solving for in a different color. That way I remember this is the letter I want to get by itself and I don't get confused halfway through the problem. So I'm going to write that letter F in a red marker instead of the black that everything else is written in so that I remember I want to get the letter F all by itself. Now, currently with the letter F, I've got two things going on. I have a minus 32, and the minus 32 is contained in some parentheses. And then being multiplied with the parentheses is a 5/9. Now, that's on that right-hand side with the F minus 32, so that needs to be moved as well to the other side where the C is. If I were solving this, I would distribute that 5/9, but I don't want to multiply 5/9 times 32 because it's just going to be a crazy fraction and I don't want to deal with that. So instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of the 5/9. Now, the 5/9 is being multiplied with the parentheses. And so to get rid of it, I need to do the opposite of multiplying a fraction. Normally, when something's being multiplied, I would say divide it, but we don't really divide fractions. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Just a little side note, I can't move the 32 while it's trapped inside some parentheses. So even if I wanted to move the 32, I couldn't do it right now. All right, so I'm going to multiply on each side of the equation by the reciprocal, which would be 9/5. So notice I have a new 9/5 in front of my C, and I have a 9/5 in front of the entire right-hand side. And the reason why we multiply by the reciprocal is it'll end up canceling out that fraction. The 9s will cancel, and the 5s will cancel, leaving us with this. And so now I've gotten rid of the 5/9. Just for a little refresher for myself, make sure I'm getting the correct letter by itself. I'm going to write that letter F with that red marker again. So I want this red letter F to be all alone. There's only one other thing with it right now. There's a minus 32, so I'm going to plus 32. That will allow me to cancel these out, leaving my red letter F all by itself. Now, normally when we're done with these problems, whatever we're trying to solve for, we usually write that first. And so I'm going to just flip-flop the two sides of the equal sign. I'm going to write my letter F first. So I'm going to write F equals, and then my answer would be the 9/5C plus 32. Notice that I didn't actually switch anything around here. All I did was I picked up this whole thing and I wrote it on the other side exactly how it was written before. So I'm not switching that order. I'm just switching what's written on which side. And this would be my final answer. So again, we're solving literal equations or formulas, and we're solving for a very specific letter. In this problem, we were solving for the letter F. Let's solve for one more. In this problem, again, in the directions, it tells you which letter you're solving for. I've got 3 different letters to choose from, but it very specifically says I want to solve for this letter X right here. So I'm going to write that with my red marker. That way I know, okay, I want to get this letter by itself. Since I'm getting the letter X by itself, the things that need to be moved, I need to move the +3, and I need to move the big fraction that says divided by 2. Those are the things that need to be moved to the other side. And the 2y and the -w, those are already like far away from my letter X, so I don't have to worry about moving those at all. Kind of like on the previous problem, I cannot move my +3 right now because technically it's in these like invisible parentheses that are around the top of the fraction bar. So because it's trapped inside of a parentheses, I cannot move my +3. And so I have to start this problem by getting rid of that dividing by 2. The opposite of dividing by 2 is timesing by 2. Whenever you're multiplying or dividing an equation, you have to multiply the entire side of the equation or divide the entire side of the equation. In this scenario, I will be multiplying the entire side by 2. So notice that I put the whole left side in a really big parentheses, and I put a 2 on the outside, and then I put the whole right side also in a really big parentheses. Now, the 2 that we had, the dividing by 2, that was like the whole reason why we were multiplying by 2, that's going to cancel. Whatever you're trying to move should always completely cancel out. That's kind of like the whole point. The whole point of timesing by 2 was so we could get rid of that dividing by 2. So that 2 will cancel. Now on the other side of the equation, I do have this 2, and I'm going to have to distribute it to that side of the equation. So now I have this x plus 3 equals 4y minus 2w. Again, just a quick refresher, I'm going to look up here at I'm solving for x, so I'm going to write my letter x in this nice red marker. That way I know this is what I'm trying to get by itself. I want to move everything away from that red letter x. Now, the only thing that's still with the red letter X is a +3, so that's the last thing I need to move. I need to -3. Now, when I minus the 3 to the other side, I can't subtract it from anything in particular because I don't have any like terms. I have a 4y, and I have a 2w, and I have a 3 without a variable. And so since I don't have any like terms to combine it with, I'm just going to kind of tack it on the end of the problem. The 3 that was with the red letter X is now gone, so those will cancel. And I'm now at my final answer. My final answer is x equals, that's important because it said solve for x, 4y minus 2w minus 3. This concludes solving equations.